The comics can be a pleasant diversion from the headlines on a newspaper's front page, but John Yang introduces us to one comic strip writer who says he has a duty to reflect reality. It's part of our ongoing arts and culture series, Canvas.
For Hector Cantu, Saturday mornings begin in a coffee shop near his home in suburban Dallas. It may look like he's just passing time with his wife Linda reading the newspaper, but he's really hard at work looking for ideas for the comic strip he writes called Baldo.
Most everything you see in the comic has to be generated in some kind of way that I see so many elements coming together, whether it's newspaper stories I read, stuff I see on TV, books I'm reading, real life events. The very first strips, yeah.
Since Baldo debuted in 2000, it's been the only nationally syndicated strip about a Latino family. It centers around Baldo Bermudez, a teenager who's into girls and cars. He lives with his little sister.
Gracie is a smart young girl.
Their dad, a widower.
Dad is the conservative, traditional dad.
And their great aunt, Tia Carmen.
She's kind of the loony old aunt.
Cantu is Mexican-American. He grew up in South Texas, crazy about comics. While working as a magazine editor, he took a shot at his dream of doing a daily cartoon.
Was it always going to be a Latino family?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was an area that I thought I could write about, a family that I thought I could write about in the comics page where no one else was like that.
Over the years, Latino fans have told him how much it means to them.
I was at a Comic-Con last year when some young lady came up to me and she said, "Are you the guy who does Baldo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And she couldn't believe it. And she pulled out of her bag like a Sunday comic that was clipped out of the paper. Her and her dad would read the comics together. Her dad had passed away. It meant so much to her, just the characters and the connection with her dad. She started crying and it was just such a touching moment. And I realized that, comic strips can touch people in a pretty significant way.
Because comics have to be quickly understood with little explanation, Cantu says they often rely on stereotypes.
It's a tricky thing to do. I mean, we decided early on to stay away from just, the taco jokes. It does take away some of our tools in that tool chest where it's like a cheap laugh, it's an easy laugh. But I've kind of discovered there are jokes you can do that don't poke fun at the culture, they more celebrate the culture.
And Cantu feels a responsibility to have Baldo inhabit the real world. In a 2-week storyline in December 2017, Baldo's best friend, Cruz, reveals he's a dreamer, brought to the United States by his parents illegally when he was a child.
We have Baldo and Cruz walking down the street. "Cruz, are you undocumented?" "I'm a dreamer." "How old were you?" "I was 5 when my mom and dad said we had to leave." "And you couldn't stay home alone on your PlayStation?" Not an option." Cruz tells the story of how he came to the United States. "I don't remember much about getting here. I remember walking, sleeping on the ground, and I remember my dad's promises. When we get there, I'll get you an ice cream. I promise." The story continues, "Dude, I've been learning about my rights since I was 8. I had to know exactly what to do if I came home from school and my parents had been taken away." On the very last day, Baldo and Cruz are walking down the street. "I feel bad for my parents. Maybe they made a mistake. It was hard, but they chose to come here because they love this country. And now this is my home. This is where I'm from. I'm American, and that means I'm a survivor." Politics, like immigration and the dreamer issue, is so much a part of so many people's lives that to me it has to be a part of the comic strip. If there's like this sense of duty, that may be it, of reflecting what a lot of people in this country go through every day.
Even more dramatic was the 2007 April Fool's Day strip. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers wrongly accused Tia Carmen of being in the country illegally and take her away in handcuffs.
It was just meant to be a gag, but we got so many emails from people saying, "How could you do this to Tia Carmen? She's such a lovely lady. She's like a friend." You know, she's like my next door neighbor. And the more they said, the more I said, exactly, that's the point.
Baldo's illustrator is Carlos Castellanos. He lives in Florida, Cantu in Texas. They collaborate over the internet and have only met in person about a half dozen times. The comic strip appears in nearly 200 newspapers across the country, including the New York Daily News, the Washington Post, and the Houston Chronicle.
I just realized the other day that we've been around for 20 years, and there are kids out there who are 18 and 19 years old who have grown up with Baldo. They've grown up with these characters in the paper every day.
Characters who don't age a day over the years, frozen in time on the comics page and in Hector Cantu's imagination. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang in Richardson, Texas.